After I kind of learned how a lot of science industry operated, I decided that I wasn't going to make a lot of money as an entomologist. It was going to be a really difficult path. So I figured if I was going to have a difficult path that I didn't get a lot of money from, I might as well be doing the art stuff. I had a real love for entomology and science, but I found myself more preoccupied with thoughts about writing and art and creating things. So I think that there's a lot of similarities between how poetry and art in general intersects with math and science. When you're dealing with any sort of math-based field, you're having to choose what variables you're incorporating and how they interact with each other. That's what math is. It's modeling the world through quantitative measurements. And I think poetry is effectively the same thing. You're modeling the world through measurements, but in poetry and art, the measurements are emotional and language-based and experience-based instead of in feet or meters or liters or whatever. I think that the skills required to be a good poet are the same skills that are required to be a good entomologist or a scientist, that you have to be observant of all the details that are going on, to have a sense of compassion for them, especially for insects, because people don't like bugs. So the people who are entomologists, I notice, tend to be more compassionate individuals because they are willing to put aside the stigma that society places on them. So the inspiration I get from my poems come from noticing details in my life and kind of accumulating all those details, synthesizing them into a coherent idea. I think I do it subconsciously. I think when I'm writing, I tend to think of how the insect is operating and interacting with its world, and then that affects how the poem is operating and interacting with the reader. The fly in the real world will buzz around and be very hard to kind of pin down. So maybe the poem itself is very fast-paced and very hard to pin down. So it is frustrating at times to deal with a public that doesn't really engage with it, that sees it as an antiquated form of art. More than that, a form of art that I feel like a lot of people don't feel like they understand, that they feel that it's inaccessible. Literally no one will ever understand your poem or your art the way you understand it, which is just the bigger problem of life and the human condition. No one will ever 100% understand anyone else